Well, good afternoon. I think the worst kept secret in Minnesota is that we're preparing for a recount in the governor's race. And today I want to shed a little light on our process here in Hennepin County for doing that. We're beginning to prepare today for the recount by moving the ballots from the cities down here to a central location, the government center, where we're going to provide security for them, on them, to them, I guess pick your preposition, and then we're going to await the recount and follow through on the process. With me, let me make a couple introductions, are Rachel Smith, our Director of Elections, Jill Alverson, who Rachel reports to Jill, and she handles all property tax services, and Dan Rogan from the County Attorney's Office. And I'm going to hand off the details to them after I just make a few remarks here. After we're done here, you're going to go down and see where the ballots are coming in. We have a few cities coming in today. I think Brooklyn Center is bringing their ballots in, as maybe the city of Mound. I guess we'll know when we get down there. I want to make just a couple remarks about our system here. You know, the county board, we are very proud of our elections department. We do a fine job, and I want to thank Rachel, her staff, and especially all our volunteer election judges that sit at the 420 odd precincts we have and tabulate the nearly 500,000 ballots that are cast in Hennepin County. We take pride in it, and we think we do a good job. And we're going to continue to do that each and every election. I don't have a lot more to say. I'll see if there's any questions for me before we get into the nitty-gritty of the details. But this is becoming a habit, I guess, with recounts. We're ready to respond and to all the different changes that happen after each one of these events. But we're confident we're going to have a good recount, a good process here, and an outcome that all of Minnesota will be proud of. Anything for me?
Are you comfortable with the explanation given over the 60,000 vote mistake?
Yeah, I am. I think we had. I think it's important to note we had a reporting error and not a counting error. You know, the election nights, and you guys know it better than anybody, there is an insatiable desire for speed, and we've tried to answer that by employing technology. I think on my time on the board, we've bought at least one and maybe two different election systems. But as we all know, and I know better than you know, you guys are probably all better with technology than I am, none of it is perfect. So we're going to continue to pursue speed and perfection. I don't know that we're ever going to attain it, but along the way, we may have a few bumps in the road. It's not going to threaten the integrity of our system, you know, but it may not always be as smooth a ride as we would like. But the destination we're looking for is speed and smooth, and we might not have had that this time, but we did not have an error in counting.
Can you talk about the cost?
Well, the cost, I don't know what it'll be yet. We're going to have these ballots under guard. It's an unanticipated cost, but it's one that we'll bear. I think, you know, these situations are rare that I don't think the board wants to overreact and start looking for state assistance or anything like that. We understand the need for this, and we'll respond to it.
What, if anything, is built into the budget, though, to deal with elections? And is there anything that's already kind of there to deal with unpredictable events? For unpredictable events, in the elections department, I can't think of anything that would approach this magnitude. But the county has a contingency budget for unanticipated things across all our departments. So we'll probably approach it that way. We haven't gotten into that yet because we don't know how long it will last or what it will ultimately cost.
Commissioner, I believe in 2008, didn't you count your ballots at separate locations? Why have you decided to combine them all in one place? You know,
I'm going to let Rachel answer that. I think, Tom, it had more to do with we hadn't gone through it once before, so I think we want a little more orderly fashion, but let me leave that for Jill or Rachel to answer. Anything else? Great. Jill, do you want to?
Thank you, Commissioner Opat. Good afternoon. I'm going to walk you through the steps that we're taking to secure our ballots this year. And first, I'd like to answer your question. The basic reason that we changed the process this year was to simply make it more efficient and accessible. We anticipate quite a bit of interest and observers, so we wanted to make it more accessible to you.
Is it also easier then for you to control the whole process, to have it all in one place?
Certainly, it leads to greater uniformity, certainly.
So
But was the guard anticipated that you would have a sheriff's deputy guarding these?
Yeah, I'd like to go through my points, and I think you'll understand better how we're planning for that security. The county is, as we speak, currently working with our cities to coordinate the transport of their ballots and other election materials to the Hennepin County Government Center. That is beginning today, and it will continue on Monday, November 8th. Cities are bringing their election materials to the Hennepin County Government Center loading dock. They will be bringing their materials from the loading dock to a secure room that we've set up on the A level of the Government Center. At that point, their materials will be checked in by staff from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and the Hennepin County Elections Division. All materials will be logged in and barcoded at that point. The Hennepin County Sheriff's Office will provide in-person security for all our ballot storage room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that is beginning today. Access to the room will be limited to a specific set of staff who have special photo ID badges identifying themselves. Sheriff deputies will be instructed, or are instructed, to allow in only those staff with the special badges. At no time will any person be allowed in the room alone. All persons will sign in and out, and that will be documented on a log. These procedures are in place today and will continue until the county auditor decides they can be discontinued. They will be in place throughout the period of the gubernatorial recount and longer as needed. We are available immediately after this news conference to walk you through the area that we're speaking about, and we'll take any other questions at this point.
Why the decision this year to have an armed deputy?
Again, I think we want to assure the public that these ballots are secure. We're really striving for security, transparency, uniformity, accessibility, and efficiency.
What percentage of votes cast are coming Hennepin?
Oh, I might have to. We had approximately 470,000 ballots. Some of those were absentee ballots. What percentage of the state? I don't know if I can answer that. Not sure.
And what percentage were absentee then here?
A little over 4%. We saw a little over 4% for absentee.
Have those absentees already been counted?
Yes, all the absentee ballots throughout Hennepin County were counted and included on the election night totals on Tuesday night.
Jill, what provision, if any, has been made for observers from the different parties to come down and watch the door, for instance, or whatever it is that they would think they'd like to do to ensure that no tampering is being done?
I might defer to our county attorney representative for that question, Dan Rogan.
Thank you. We've informed both campaigns of this entire procedure, and including what cities are coming down here, and provided them the opportunity to witness the transfer and to be in place for as long as they want here at the government center outside the door where we're going to have a deputy located.
So they should remain outside the door?
Yes, they can remain outside the door, the same place as the deputy.
Have they showed up yet?
No, we have not seen the parties here at all. I've heard from the representative from the Dayton campaign that they're not anticipating doing so. I haven't heard one way or the other from a representative from the Emmer campaign.
Tony Trimble said the morning after the election that he sent a letter out to the counties. He didn't say Henco specifically, that they would likely be sending observers.
Yes,
Have you got that letter yet?
they sent that letter to us and to all the cities, and the ballots have been secured by the cities up until this point, and that's why we've informed them that we're moving them and where we're putting them, and that they can contact us to set up arrangements to have somebody provide in-person supervision if that's what they desire to do.
How many of the ballots are here already? Have many of them already made the trip?
At the time of this news conference, I don't think we had any yet. I think that we have a few cities that are coming this afternoon. I think a total of 4 or 5 cities are coming this afternoon, but the bulk are going to be coming on Monday, I believe.
Rachel, can you walk us through what happens for the ballots that are in that room now? What's going to happen going up to certification, and then what happens when there's a manual recount and where they move from there? But kind of just take us to the process about what you need to do with those ballots for certification, and then what you'll be doing with them when it's a manual recount.
Well, first, let me just clarify that on Monday, the county canvassing board will convene, and that's where we basically have gone through all the election night tapes, and we're comparing that to what we submitted on the returns to make sure that those were accurate. And we have almost concluded that process and are looking forward to canvassing and certifying the results on Monday. So that's the first step.
So really, that's already a process that's already begun in terms of that in the canvassing board, and that's just looking at the tapes.
That's looking at, so each of the 425 precincts will print a tape off at the end of the night. The election judges are comparing, at that point, the number of signatures in the roster plus the election day registration cards, adding those two numbers together, and that should equal the total number of ballots.
And have there been any changes to the count so far during that?
No.
Would you anticipate, are there usually, my understanding is sometimes that number does change.
It's not uncommon to see a small fluctuation. Sometimes on election night, our election judges are submitting the results right away, and so sometimes if they see a discrepancy, they may either rerun the ballots there if they maybe had jams or if there's questions. But almost all the time they do balance.
And then take us from
the
manual recount after you guys certify.
So the manual recount will begin on Monday, November 29th. And we will be coordinating and working with all 46 of our cities to make that process happen. And just like 2008, we'll have several tables set up where there will be two people basically going through the ballots one by one and reviewing the ballots with the challenger on either side of them, looking for voter intent issues and hand counting to compare against the machine tape.
And they'll just be looking at the governor's race when they do that. Right?
They will be doing that. We also, I should mention that the second week in November, we'll also be doing what's called a post-election review, which is an automatic process that all counties will be doing throughout the state. And in that process, we are required to review the office of governor along with the U.S. representative. And that will be a small sampling of the county at that point.
If the city has their own recount for like a local race, how does that work in conjunction with a larger recount like this?
Well, typically we work with the parties from the governor's race. We'll also work with the cities to schedule that and to notify anytime we're touching or removing ballots.
So will like city people come here to do a local recount for maybe a council race or something like that?
That is what we are working with our cities right now.
Rachel, do any of these added precautions, are they a way to make sure there's no questions about how the recount process goes when that begins? Because of what happened on election night, even though they say it was a simple reporting error, not a counting error, but there are lingering questions about it. Do you want to make sure there's no questions about this process?
I think that we are interested in showing how our system works and the how secure these ballots will be. And
Is there any of it a reaction to what happened on election night, the fact that Republicans have been raising questions about it?
I think I think we would do that either way. Jill, do you want to?
We didn't anticipate the recount, but Rachel and I have had previous conversations. We would have, even without the incident on election night, we would have recommended that we handle the recount this way.
Rachel, just wondering, how much sleep have you had since election night?
I've had I think the most I got one night was about 6 hours, but.
There's new laws regarding the challenging of ballots when you get into the recount. Can you take us through how that might differ from last time as far as voter intent, and whether you can challenge a ballot or not? Identifying marks, I think, is a big one, right?
That's correct, and I did not review it before I came out here, so I'm.
Possible to see one of those tapes, by the way, Rachel? Is that in a form that we can see when you refer to tapes that you guys, the canvassing board, be looking at? What do those look like? Is it digital voting?
They're basically like if you were to go to a store and get a receipt, print it off. Now one of the differences from this year to from 2008 is that the absentee ballots are actually counted centrally. So the absentee ballot tapes are separate from the in-person tapes. So there's actually two sets of data that will be merged that were merged together to create one total.
So Rachel, just to be clear on this, it's not required by state law that all these ballots be brought here centrally. That's not a requirement of state law. That's something that Hennepin County has decided to do for the reasons you stated.
That's correct.
Is that right? Okay.
But it's consistent with what other counties do.
It is, yes, that's
And
correct.
why hasn't Hennepin County done that in the past if it's consistent with what happens in the rest of the state?
Do you want to respond?
How many have we had, Tom? How many recount consistent with the universe is
No, but
one form of
consistently-
recount, right?
No, but my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that consistently, other counties all brought them to a central location after the election. Recount or not, but that was the policy in other counties.
I can address that.
Yeah.
In 2008, we looked at a number of factors, but probably the most important factor was the sheer size of the volume. And we worked very closely with our cities at that time, talked about the possibility of centralizing, but concluded that doing it decentralized would work best. This time, we consulted with our cities, and we felt, and we had a great response from our cities. We all agreed it would work better to centralize it this time. Are there any other questions?
How many ballots is it again altogether? I think you may have said that at the beginning. How many ballots are we talking about roughly?
470,000.